Excelsior, true believers! You are about to embark upon a journey, a trip to the 70s and 80s when mighty Marvel Comics ruled over all. The Defenders, Doctor Strange, the Champions, Deathlock, the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, Killraven, the Son of Satan, the Macabre Man-Thing, and all your other Bronze Age favorites every week appearing on Defenders Dialogue. Now here are your guides, Christopher Golden and Brian Keene.
Excelsior, true believers.
Excelsior indeed, and welcome back after a long delay to Defenders Dialogue. I'm Brian Keene.
And I'm Christopher Golden. And Brian, you know, I'm really excited to begin this new era of coverage on Defenders Dialogue. I had a great time doing Man-Thing, but there's a certain sameness to Man-Thing, as crazy as some of that got, and one of the reasons why we love Defenders so much from the get-go is that it's constantly changing, it's constantly weird, and one of the things that I love about Marvel 2-in-1 and Marvel Team Up is that it's constantly changing and it's constantly weird.
Agreed. We've been on the air almost 200 episodes now, I guess. Like 5 years, I think this is our 5th year.
Is that possible? That's not possible.
Yeah, it is possible. We started this, the Horror Show with Brian Keene was on the air 6 years.
Yeah.
It ended last year, and we started this show the year after that. So we've been on the air 5 years now.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go back and do the math, but and I'll let you know on Twitter later. But I'm pretty sure we have been 4 or 5 years at the very least. But
look, we're going off on our usual tangent here, but my wife, Connie, would be the first one to tell you that I have no sense of time spans at all.
Right.
So, like, something that happened 5 years ago, I might think was 9 months ago. Something that happened 2 months ago, I might think was 10 months ago. Like, I just am terrible with that. I just have no sense of time span, which is helpful when you get to be a certain age and you're like, and you want to not remember how old it's coming. I'll be 54 in July, so I'm happy to not think about how old that makes me and that certain things happened 10 frickin' years ago or 25 years ago. However, I will be stunned to learn that we've been doing this for 5 years.
Well, I got news for you, my friend. We have been doing this since 2017. So 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021.
That's 4 years. That's still longer than I thought.
No, you got to count 2021. We're in 2021, so it's 5 years.
Wait a second, though. But this is a weird. Come on, this is a weird argument. I just had this argument with my son Daniel the other day, or Nicholas, I think it was, because he was saying it was Sunday, and he was saying it had been a day since Friday, and I'm like, no, it's 2 days since Friday, because you count Friday to Saturday and Saturday to Sunday. That's 2 days. He was only counting the fact that Saturday had passed, and that doesn't count. On this, I'm making a flip side argument.
Of all your children, I am closest to Nicholas. He is such a remarkable young man. I'm going to take his back on this. Nicholas could say that the Earth is flat and the moon is made out of cheese. Now I'm going to agree with him on those as well.
The distance from Friday to Sunday is 2 days. Not 1 day. I feel like Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny having the argument on the Looney Tunes show about the Road Run, whatever it was, about yesterday, today, whatever. No, it's
okay. You know what? I'm gonna give our listeners a no prize right now for not fast forwarding through this argument. Defenders Dialogue operates on Marvel editor Tom Brevoort's sliding time scale. So, Brian,
we've been doing this podcast 4 years. 17,
Brian,
18,
we've been on 5 years.
19 to 20, and 20 to 21. That's 4 years.
Chris says it's 4. I say it's 5. For you, dear listener, it may be a millennia. But my point was...
All right. In any case.
I still want to make my points.
All right. Go make your bullshit
My
point.
point was, you and I started this podcast however long ago to talk about our shared love of the Defenders. And that has obviously since grown into our, just our shared love of Bronze Age Marvel.
Yeah.
To me, Marvel 2-in-1 and Marvel Team Up are the absolute heart of Bronze Age Marvel. We have two types of listeners. We have people our age who love going back, the nostalgic value of us visiting these. And we have people like, I always point at young Wes Southard, a great author and a loyal listener of the show. He only knows Marvel from the cinematic universe, and most of the things we talk about here are new to him. And, both of these titles, 2-in-1 and Team Up, they really are a who's who of Marvel in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That was all I wanted to say. I could have said it in 5 minutes, but instead it took us 20.
Yeah. See, here's your sliding time scale again. It hasn't been 20 minutes. Anyway. All right, look, so here's the thing. I want to set this up because when we were talking about how we were going to cover Marvel 2-in-1 and Marvel Team Up, the first issue of each of those, it slipped our minds that we'd actually covered Marvel 2-in-1 #1 while talking about Man-Thing, because it starred the Man-Thing and was written by Man-Thing writer Steve Gerber. However, going back to it, I discovered, and I don't think I ever had known this, weirdly enough, that Marvel 2-in-1 was developed by Roy Thomas, who was an editor at the time, at the instruction of Stan Lee. Stan Lee said, I want a team-up book starring the Thing, the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. And who doesn't love Ben Grimm, right?
Right.
And Roy Thomas was like, essentially thinking he doesn't think that was going to work, but he had his marching orders. So Marvel Feature was one of Marvel's many tryout comics at the time. We had Marvel Spotlight, Marvel Premiere, Marvel Feature, and I think there's one I'm missing, where they would try out new features, and then if they were successful, they would spin them off into their own comic book. Marvel Feature number 11 and 12 was the testing ground for what would become Marvel 2-in-1. Marvel Feature number 11, it says Marvel Feature presents The Thing and the Incredible Hulk, and it says The Thing at last in his own Smash series. And this first issue was written by Len Wein with art by Jim Starlin and Joe Sinnott. And I love it. It's the beginning of what will become Marvel 2-in-1.
Yep. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. We open with a splash page of the Fantastic Four. And, it's gorgeously drawn, gorgeously inked. And, we don't need to recap these first few pages because basically we all know the story. It's the story of how the Fantastic Four got their powers, and more primarily how Ben Grimm, the Thing, got his powers.
So what we should touch base with, Brian, on in these few pages is just the idea of what the Thing was up to at this point in Marvel continuity, which was Reed Richards. He blamed Reed for all of them getting their powers. And of the Fantastic Four, Ben Grimm was the only one who didn't really want his powers. He was like, well, you guys all have these cool powers, but you still look human, but I look like a monster. Find a way to fix it, bastard. Right? And they're best friends, and Reed has been trying for years to find a way to reverse the effects on Ben Grimm to make him no longer the Thing. And this is an untried machine. And again, this has nothing to do with the plot, but I'm just sort of setting the tone for who Ben Grimm was at the time. Nothing to do with the plot, except that Ben is wrecking a machine that Reed hasn't even tried on him yet, because he's so tired of having his hopes built up only to have them ripped away again every time Reed says, this one might work, he's like Lucy with the football. Nuts.
Exactly. So while Ben is feeling maudlin for himself, he's unaware that he's being observed from high above the earth in a very 1970s unidentified flying object, which is piloted by Kurgo, the master of Planet X.
Yes.
And his giant robot.
And this was the best part about this story. I'll let you go on to it. But the best part about this story was that Kurgo and his whole story is so fucking silly.
It is.
Like, it was a pleasure to read this because I was just shaking my head.
It is. Kurgo appeared one time only. Fantastic Four issue number 7. And in a nutshell, the Fantastic Four land on his planet, and his planet is on a collision with another world, a runaway world. So Reed Richards gets the idea to shrink the entire population down to mini-sized so they can all fit in one rocket ship capable of taking them to a new planet. But Kurgo, he wants to be master of that planet. So he takes the only canister of enlarging gas. And unfortunately, doing so, he gets left behind. His giant robot saves him, and he watches as Planet X is destroyed, and him and the robot fly around. They find their people, but their people have created great miniature cities and great miniature weapons, and Kurgo figures out that he and the robot are not wanted there, and they are forced to flee again, which
but
brings
it's also,
them...
we should point out, it's giant Kurgo. They're all still miniature, but he's back to normal size. His normal size, by the way, is about Tom Snogowski height. So let's stick with that. But yeah, he decides he's away. He's going to get revenge. So he comes to Earth, but he's going to team up for revenge with somebody who has dealt with the Hulk. And who is that somebody? Well,
Chris?
what we should say, what he wants is to get revenge on his people.
Right.
So they drove him off, and now he wants to get his revenge on them. So he goes to Earth to find the strongest being on Earth, whom he thinks is Ben Grimm. But once he gets there, he realized that actually the strongest being on Earth is now, since the last time he was here, the Incredible Hulk. Apparently, off-panel, he tried to enlist the help of the Hulk, but he was interfered with by the Leader.
That's right. One of my favorite Marvel villains. Now, at this point in Marvel Comics history, the Leader is completely immobilized. He can't walk. He can't move his arms. He can't move his head. He can't even speak. He has to communicate telepathically, and he lives inside a giant glass tube.
Yeah. So, Brian, for listeners, because I don't think we've covered the Leader at all. Just sort of explain the significance of the Leader.
Right. The Leader is to the Hulk what Doctor Doom is to the Fantastic Four, what Nebulon is to the Defenders. He's the Hulk's main villain in the Hulk's Rogues Gallery. He was a not so smart individual. In 70s terms, they called him a simpleton. I don't know if that word is still in vogue, but that's what they called him in the 70s comics. But when exposed to gamma radiation, like Bruce Banner, instead of growing physically strong, he grows mentally strong. He's basically the smartest human being on the planet. Smarter than Reed Richards, smarter than Doom, smarter than Tony Stark. He's a big, giant brain.
But always undone by his own pettiness and
his own ego.
His plans. No matter how smart he is, it's his character that is his undoing all the time.
Exactly.
So these two guys decide that rather than fight it out themselves, they're going to enlist champions The leader, by right of priority, Kurgo says, gets to choose the Hulk. And Kurgo, of course, chooses Ben Grimm. So that's a long setup for what becomes a really fun and silly story. Ben Grimm is basically, beamed away to a little like old Western style town. And the leader sort of explains to him what's going on. Right. The leader tells him, Brian, that there is what does he call the bomb? I can't find it.
Hang on, I'm looking for it here. That, you unmitigated moron, is an Ultrex bomb capable of destroying all life on this planet.
Right. So basically, the leader says, hey, there's a bomb on the other side of town. You need to get to the bomb and defuse it, or all life on the planet will end. But in the meantime, there's going to be a problem with you getting there because the other person we're about to beam to your location is the Incredible Hulk.
And he only has, it's important to note, Ben only has 29.3749 minutes to stop that bomb.
Right. But first he has to get through the Hulk to get there. The Hulk doesn't know this. He's just smashing the thing because he's in the way. And he blamed, basically this is typical of the Hulk. Something has been done to him. He's been beamed across the country. And the first person he sees is the person he blames. It's like Brian waking up with a hangover.
Yes, very much so. But he doesn't even recognize Ben. At first he thinks Ben is, Chris, I get to do something I haven't been able to do since we ended Defenders.
I was expecting this, Brian. I wouldn't even say anticipating it eagerly.
Stupid pile of orange rocks. Hulk will smash. Wait, you're not orange rocks. You're the Thing. Why did Thing bring Hulk to this strange place?
Right. But here's the part that I love about this story, as silly as it is. It's this thing where, at this point, Hulk has paused and recognized the Thing and asked him, why did you bring me here?
Right.
And rather than explain, hey, buddy, we were both brought here, and there's a bomb, and everyone you love is going to die if we don't stop it, the Thing decides that the only way to get through the Hulk is to go through the Hulk. And he punches him. And this is a big mistake. He has the perfect opportunity to de-escalate the situation, Brian.
That's right. That's right. We then get a quick aside where we find out that while the leader and Kurgo are watching this battle, Kurgo is cheating. He has taken precautions to ensure that fact. He doesn't tell us, the reader, what they are, but he's done something. And the Hulk is now pissed off, and it's clobbering time. And
then please read the line that the Hulk has right after that, after the Thing yells, "It's clobbering time."
Well, yeah. If you've listened to the show long term, we've covered the Thing so many times. But if you're new to the show and you're new to the Thing, his trademark slogan is "It's clobbering time," and he bellows that. He punches the Hulk, and Hulk says, "Hulk does not like this clobbering time thing. Hulk thinks it is dumb. Hulk thinks Thing is dumb too."
And then the Thing is angry because he's, okay, that does it. I'll put up with just about anything. But when some big green muscle-brained palooka starts insulting my intellect, he's cruising for a bruising. And Hulk says, cruising? Hulk is not going anywhere. And the thing is, as dumb as this is, I rejoiced in it. I loved it.
Because they fall into an old-timey Old West minecart and start rolling down the tracks together.
Of course they do. Of course they do. But listen, and I just want to point out that anybody involved in making a Fantastic Four movie or an upcoming appearance of the Thing in MCU live action, he needs to say it's clobbering time.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how stupid it might seem, he has to say it. I just feel like I'll be very disappointed otherwise. Anyway, yes, like a Scooby-Doo episode, their brawling carries them into a minecart, which is in the middle of the town for no apparent reason. And they fight while riding in the minecart. And I loved this. The Thing is basically saying, I'm doing this for your good too, meaning the world's you'll die if I don't stop this bomb. And Hulk says, go ahead, Brian.
You beat Hulk up for Hulk's own good? Hulk may be slow. It may be hard for Hulk to think, but not even Hulk believes that. So we then find out that what Kurgo is up to, his giant robot, continues to transmit a stream of cosmic radiation that doubles the Thing's already awesome strength. So the Thing can't be defeated.
Yeah. So then the Thing finally decides, oh, maybe I should try to explain this all to the Hulk. And he explains to the Hulk about the bomb and says, you don't want that to happen, do you? And Hulk says, no. Hulk will not listen. Hulk is tired of words. So he basically hammers the Thing into the ground. And then, again, the Thing has the opportunity. Hulk walks away. Now, Hulk is walking in the direction of where the bomb is. The Thing needs to get there. But instead of simply trying to go past the Hulk, the Thing attacks him from behind, burning
Sucker
yet more
punches
minutes
him.
in useless combat.
Knocks him through a house. The house falls down on him. Thing finds the Ultrex bomb and smashes it apart, only to discover what, Chris?
It's a dud. It's a fake the whole time. It's just an empty threat. There is no Ultrex bomb. Although, presumably someone else will use that eventually. And then, the ship with the leader and what's his name again?
Kurgo.
The
yes. Master of Planet X.
Yes. The thing, the ship beams the Hulk and the Thing aboard. And the robot, as you said, is pumping the Thing full of cosmic rays that make him stronger. So the Hulk and the Thing basically team up. They smash the robot, and the ship is going to explode. And they both like leap out of the ship before it can explode. And the Hulk basically says, "Okay, I'm good. Hulk has come, and now Hulk will go far away from crazy Thing and stupid little men."
That's right. So Hulk goes bounding off to the horizon.
Every convention.
The ship crashes in the desert. Unless Kurgo and the leader got out of there, they're dead. Well, we know obviously the leader didn't die in that explosion, but I don't believe Kurgo has ever been seen since. So he may have in fact died. But yeah, the Thing finds himself alone in the desert with nobody to give him a ride home.
Yeah, he's wandering through the desert. And I feel like this is an interesting setup. We get to Marvel feature number 12, which is written by Mike Friedrich, with art by Jim Starlin and Joe Sinnott again. Interestingly enough, Sinnott and Starlin had done the previous issue, but I found the art on the previous issue much better than the art on this issue.
I agree.
So it makes me wonder, what the difference is here in separation of tasks. But in any case, this is the bite of the Blood Brothers.
That's right. And we pick up right where we left Thing last issue, wandering through the desert. He sees a rattlesnake. He sees some cactuses. Basically, he recaps everything. But then he hears a sound, like a small jet flying overhead. And it's his old friend Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man.
Yeah, who just happens to be flying overhead in the middle of the desert with nothing anywhere near them. Very convenient, except when the Thing tries to flag him down for a ride, Iron Man passes him right by. We get Tony Stark's thought bubbles. Thought bubbles were something that happened in the 70s, kids.
Yes.
And basically he's like, undoubtedly the thing's peeved at me right now, but there's no way I could have stopped. Not when I'm hunting down the biggest threat Earth's ever faced, not to mention the universe. This is where I first came in contact with him, namely that interplanetary conqueror, Thanos.
That's right.
It's really interesting to me that the groundwork for a lot of the Thanos stuff, like so much of Thanos's, all of his minions, like the Blood Brothers, who we're going to talk about in a second, they were completely replaced in modern Marvel with those other characters like the Maw and all of that stuff. And I like those characters, and they're a lot less silly than the Blood Brothers. But there is something to be said for the Blood Brothers, Brian. They're not giant, but they're humanoid, very ape-like alien vampires.
Exactly. Right. And the other interesting thing I always find about it, and again, I think of our younger listeners who only know these characters from the MCU. Perhaps they went and searched Thanos on Google, when they heard he was going to be in a movie. These days he's thought of primarily as a Captain Marvel villain. But it was Iron Man back in the day who often ended up fighting against Thanos. So I like the lineage of that in the MCU, that it came down to the MCU's Iron Man being the one to stop Thanos.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, too, that we should tell people is that it's very difficult for people to understand now. But Iron Man was really a second-tier hero in these days.
Absolutely.
He wasn't, sort of like further down the food chain, but he was definitely no Spider-Man, no Captain America, no even Thor, I think was, maybe Thor and Iron Man were similar, but Captain America, Spider-Man, the Hulk, those were like the real top of the top. Even exactly. Daredevil, I think, was in some ways more, anyway, continue.
Yeah, Iron Man as a seller, as a comic icon, the series really didn't take off until well after issue 100, when they got into exploring his alcoholism, and it got a little more daring, a little more adult. But he was very much a second-tier character. But anyway, he's reminiscing about his last interaction with Thanos and Thanos' stooges, the alien Blood Brothers, and how he teamed up with Drax the Destroyer, who all of you know from Guardians of the Galaxy, to defeat them. And this leads him to Thanos' former base in the desert, which is seemingly deserted, and yet he can't help but feel he's being watched. And he is, in fact, being watched, as Chris said, by the vampiric alien Blood Brothers.
Yes, the vampiric alien ape-like, very simian Blood Brothers, who are cool and actually look more interesting to me in this than Thanos does, because this drawing that Starland and Sinnott do of Thanos, I don't know, it's just silly looking for some reason. But Thanos has the Cosmic Cube at this time as well, which again, all part of the MCU to come. Anyway, we get a big battle between Iron Man and the Blood Brothers, and then the Thing arrives. He has walked the rest of the way, Brian, because he's still annoyed. So he followed Iron Man basically just to tell him off, just to say, "You prick! You saw me walking there in the middle of the desert. You couldn't have at least stopped to find out what was going on." He doesn't actually call him a prick in the comic.
Well, it's a good thing he does that too, because the Blood Brothers, I'm going to make quick work of many pages here. They attack Iron Man under orders of Thanos. They're supposed to kill him, and the Blood Brothers say, "Without Drax the Destroyer at your side, you're doomed." And boy, it sure seems that way, because Iron Man puts up a good fight, but they're also giving it to him, and he ends up fleeing, saying, I need to call the Avengers for reinforcements, but other reinforcements have arrived because it's the Thing.
Yeah, and again, I love this moment because it's the kind of thing that would happen in 70s Marvel comics. that would never happen now, which is the Thing comes walking into the hangar where all of this battling is happening to give Iron Man a piece of his mind. And Iron Man is flying, shooting toward him, but looking over his shoulder at the Blood Brothers, and so does not see Ben Grimm step in his path. They collide, and they're both momentarily knocked out. And I just love it. It's like, Iron Man, you dumbass. I mean, it's just like, I kind of like it. I wish that these kinds of foibles were more common in current comics,
Yeah, definitely. They're both laying there unconscious with the Blood Brothers looming over them. But then Ben begins to regain consciousness, and he's knocked out again. And Thanos observes all this
in the cosmic cube.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. The Thing starts to come around again. He starts to get up, and one of the Blood Brothers bares his vampiric fangs and tries to bite into the Thing's neck. This does not go well because the Thing is made of stone. So they fight. There's a lot of really fun. I love some of these panels. I mean, the art on these panels is great. It's just like one of the Blood Brothers takes a giant tree and uses it to play baseball with the Thing. Iron Man comes back around again. Fight, and I'm often I would say that disdainfully. Fight.
But no, it's a visually arresting fight.
What's that?
I said it's a visually arresting fight, but
it's glorious. Glorious.
But it's something that needs seen. You can't describe it on a podcast.
A mountain falls on top of the Thing and Iron Man and the Blood Brothers. In any case, in the end, Iron Man and the Thing team up. They defeat the Blood Brothers, and Thanos, watching this in his cosmic cube, says that they need to suffer the penalty, and he uses the cosmic cube to zap them, and they disappear. And we don't know at this point if they're dead or if they've been transported elsewhere for their punishment.
Right. That's right.
And then the Thing is the best.
Yeah. So the Thing's like, anyway, I'm glad you showed up. I need a ride home from the desert. And Tony Stark tells him, well, that battle took up the majority of my power. You're too heavy to carry. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And what I love is Iron Man was about to call the Avengers for reinforcements. And here he's like, he doesn't have enough power to carry Ben away from this location. But I'm sure he has enough power to make a call to Avengers Mansion and say, could somebody please go out and pick up the Thing? He's in the middle of the desert. But he doesn't even bother to do that. It's like, no, dude, I'm not even going to call you an Uber. Here you go. And so the Iron Man leaves and the Thing is left once again wandering alone in the desert, which I'm just like, Iron Man is such a dick.
So the next issue blurb tells us that it's going to be Man-Thing teaming up with the Thing. Of course, as we know, reader response to these two issues of Marvel Feature was so enthusiastic that it was immediately spun off into Marvel 2-in-1. And as Chris told you at the start, we've covered that issue during our coverage of Man-Thing. Now, Chris, we are almost 40 minutes into the show. Do we want to tackle Marvel Team Up #1 today, or do we want to save it for next week and do it in issue number 2?
You know what? Let's do that, Brian. Let's do Marvel Team Up #1 as a solo episode, and then the following week we can get into the second issues of both series. Does that sound good to you?
I think that sounds good. Listeners, we hope that sounds good to you as well. Just a couple of reminders. First of all, we'd like to apologize for being off the air. Chris and I have both been dealing with all kinds of stuff, professional obligations, personal stuff in our lives. I've been real sick, but I'm better now. We're both finishing up a little project together, the two of us, along with our friend Joe R. Lansdale. It's called the Drive-In Multiplex, and we're going to be telling you more about that later this year. But yeah, we apologize for the delay. One person who was happy for the delay, though, is our engineer, Matt Wilderson. And you know why? Because he's busier than we are, Chris.
What's that? He's busier than we are.
He's busier than we are.
We like
the guy, not only is he writing books, but he's editing his first anthology. And he's recording not one, but 2 weekly podcasts. You can hear him every week on Grindcast, where he talks about the latest in pop culture, be it comic books, movies, video games, wrestling. If it's pop culture, he's talking about it. And also the Ghost Writers podcast, which he hosts every week with Mary Sangiovanni, Summer Cannon, and Dave Thomas. So check both of those out. They are available wherever you're listening to Defenders Dialogue. And, as we always say, if you want to support this show, because we don't have advertising, Chris and I don't get paid for this. If you want to support us, the best way to do that is to support our engineer, Matt.
Exactly. I agree, bro.
Yeah. Nah. So that's all I've got, Chris. We've been on the air 40 minutes, so we've been on the air almost 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. By your standard, I guess. I don't know. All right. So I'm curious. We'll have to double check again what number episode this is. But folks, we will see you next time with Marvel Team Up number 1. And then the following week, we'll get into our regular rhythm of doing matching issues. Marvel Team Up number 2, Marvel 2-in-1 number 2. And we'll go on from there. So, Brian, you know what I say?
I have a good guess what you're going to say, but you go ahead and say it.
I say Excelsior, true believers.
Excelsior indeed. We'll see you next week, folks.
Defenders Dialogue. You can listen to this episode and all previous episodes for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Music, and wherever else podcasts are available. Defenders Dialogue is written and produced by Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Our theme music is by Xander Harris. Our engineer is Matt Wilderson. Check out his books on Amazon.com.